All right, in studio with me is the Arizona Senate President Warren Petersen. We are talking about the budget that was just passed that shaved about 10% out. Now 3.5% into specific agencies, but overall about a 10% cut. $1.4 billion or more in total was cut in order to balance the budget. But I want to talk about moving forward because I've talked with some people at the legislature and they believe that this may be the last time you have to cut. The projections are that we are going to start seeing the income into the state revenue, into the treasury increasing. Is that what you see coming?
Yeah, no, I think we will likely be balanced or we'll have a surplus next session. I think that's accurate.
What is in your estimation, what caused the shortfall and what is going to cause the resurgence of revenue?
Well, so when you balance the budget, it's really just projected revenues and then your expenses. So what actually caused the shortfall was that the revenue projections were inaccurate. We had our spending that we did. Some people say, oh, ESAs caused the shortfall. Well, that's not true because we actually ended up spending less on ESAs than we projected. So, or at least K-12 had a surplus in that area. K-12 had a surplus. That line item had a surplus. So that's completely false. But the amount of revenue that they expected to come in was not as high as that they projected.
But you believe that that's going to change moving forward?
I mean, it looks like it will. I believe, and furthermore, we've just done so many things that have been pro-business and pro-small business, and we've drawn so many businesses here to Arizona. Our policies are bringing 200 people here to Arizona every single day. All of those things, bode for a good economy.
I know you and I have had conversations about housing and things that can be done. The legislature passed a couple of things the governor signed. Do you believe those are actually going to increase affordable housing across Arizona?
It's not enough. They're very small strides, but it's not enough. What really needs to happen, this is just economics 101. It's supply and demand. We are not putting out homes the way we used to put them out. And the reason we are no longer able to do that is because it takes too long to get through the process with cities and counties. That process, the permitting and the licensing has to be shortened. And until that time frame is shortened, like it used to be 20 years ago, it's going to remain to be expensive to build here.
Now, I know this is your world. I know this housing is the world you live in. So I have talked about this quite a bit, and that I believe if one municipality did this, if they reduce lot sizes, if they reduce some of the square footage requirements, not quality of home, but size of home and size of lot requirements, to build affordable homes, so you've got these, your entry-level police officers, firefighters, teachers, lawyers that are not making really big money but could buy because they have such reliable income, that I believe a municipality that did this, there is an underserved market where investors would build those kind of homes like crazy. Do you agree?
The bottom line is this. If you allow people to use property, to use land, and they can build on it, you will see a lot of building. The supply will exceed demand, and then prices go down. It's just really that simple. Right now, there are just so much red tape, so many restrictions. So yes, your idea, but not just your idea. I mean, any idea where somebody wants to use their property or build it, maybe that's the lot that people want. There could be other lots that people want. The problem is right now, cities have become HOAs gone wild. They're pretty much just completely designing the neighborhood and the homes. It's been completely taken away from the home builders. And so the pendulum has swung too far in the way of their control. It needs to swing back towards property rights.
Well, how do you do that balance? Because I think you're right, but cities do not want to give up the right and the ability to their city to lay out the footprint of their cities. I understand that desire. But when it gets to be so heavy-handed that in effect they're an HOA, what's the balance? What's the legislative balance there?
Yeah, so you're starting to see that the balance and the pendulum swing now, because what's creating the pressure is the lack of affordability. So that balance will come as affordability comes back, but until affordability comes back, we need to start reducing the red tape on that industry.
So when you look at, we talked about revenue in the budget. I want to jump back to the budget for a moment. When you look moving forward into the years to come, are there going to be areas of expansion? We talked about DPS. You said that's always been a big priority. DOC, the Department of Corrections, K through 12. Are we going to have the ability to spend more money as needed in some of these priorities?
Mike, we will always have enough money to spend on the core and essential functions. quite frankly, I believe we're still the state still collects too much money from the taxpayer. I think we could actually trim it down a lot more. But if we can always come up with enough to make sure we're doing public safety, education, transportation, we can take care of those functions.
Now, the other one, I think the other big one that Arizona has done an excellent job of is keeping ahead of growth with our freeway system. Since I've been here almost 30 years with the 60, the 101, both 202s, the 303, we have seen a good freeway system, and growth has really come with those expansions. Are we going to have the money necessary to keep up with the needs for our roads in Arizona?
Yeah, again, I mean, transportation is one of those, one of the critical items, and yeah, we have had it, and we will have it. If we don't have it in the future, we'll find a way, because that is one of the priorities.
In the current budget, as this were the cuts, were there cuts? I saw some cuts to road projects that weren't already funded. What's it going to look like for the roads in this budget?
Yeah, so you had some projects that weren't ready, that were pushed back, and so those weren't necessarily delayed. They just weren't going to, the construction wasn't going to begin. And so by moving that from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, obviously, that reduces that line item for that budget year.
One area you would like to see focused on in the budget, whether it's cuts or increases, what do you think is one area that needs more focus in our budgets?
Well, for me, I always think we need to focus on relief to the taxpayer. So whatever, we need to always be making sure we are never collecting more revenue than we should be from the taxpayer. And so quite frankly, I still think we have a ways to go. So for me, I'm always looking at ways to do tax cuts or tax rebates.
I appreciate the time as always. I know it's been a difficult battle, and I'm glad it's over for you. I imagine it's a big sigh of relief for you as well. You got to be happy that it's done.
It's always good to sine die.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as the Senate President joined us, thanks you again for coming in.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, that's the Senate President Warren Petersen.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.